Hello and welcome, one and all, to the A2theK Wrestling Show results and reactions of AEW's Double or Nothing pay-per-view. The card. Let's run down the card. On the buy-in, we had the NWA Women's title on the line as the woman of 1,000 holds, Serena Deeb, taking on Rio, defending her title and picking up the win. We had Hangman Adam Page and the Machine, Brian Cage, kicking off the main card with Adam Page picking up the win. The tag titles were on the line as the Young Bucks took on Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. I always put Moxley and Omega in the notes. I don't know why, it just sounds better. But it was Eddie Kingston.
It rolls off the tongue.
We had the Casino Battle Royal, and yeah, there was an interesting Joker debut that we had, and there was interesting participants it came down to, but ultimately it was won by Jungle Boy Jack Perry. We then had Cody Rhodes, the American Dream, this week, taking on Anthony Ogogo. Cody put himself over, which is interesting. We had
Cody, as it currently stands, and it might be a work, but Cody can go fuck himself.
Yes, he can. We had the TNT title on the line as Miro defended against Lance Archer, and Miro picked up the win. We had the women's title on the line. Hikaru Shida defending. She's held the title for a year until this pay-per-view, as Britt Baker wins.
Until the doctor could see her now.
New champion, the new era of DMD, Britt Baker as our new women's champ. We had Sting back in the ring for the first time in a long time, teaming up with Darby Allin to take on the team of Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, and Sting and Darby picked up the win. The AEW title was on the line next as Kenny Omega defended in a triple threat match against Pac and Orange Cassidy, and obviously the belt collector, he won. He still got all his belts. And the final part of the show was the Stadium Stampede as the Inner Circle took on the Pinnacle. If Inner Circle lost, they would have to disband for good, but they won, so they won't. The Inner Circle winning, reigning supreme, as we close out a long-ass but very enjoyable Double or Nothing.
Oh, yeah.
So, highlights. Now, feel free to chip in, add things, challenge me on the things I have put, because we haven't discussed this. But
we have not.
Firstly, for me, the buy-in was fucking great. Serena Deeb, man, is so good. I don't know how I slept on her for so long. I think when she was in WWE, it was like, oh yeah, she's kind of cool.
You got away with sleeping on her.
I know, yeah. Well, yeah, don't tell them. But no, I've known that she was all right, and then when we saw her kind of last year, I was like, okay, she's pretty good. And then the more we've seen of her lately, it's just like, okay, she's really fucking good.
I actually think she's probably one of these people who's fall victim to the fact that she's good at getting other people to look great.
Mm.
Like, I think Ziggler is a prime example of that, where he's fantastic at selling other people to the point it's almost at his own detriment. And I think she's one of these people where she makes matches look good, and therefore people look good.
Mm.
And I don't know, for whatever reason, you kind of end up sleeping on her a little bit, but she is fucking awesome, to be fair.
Like, for me, I didn't realise how good she was technically. Like, obviously she's got the woman of 1,000 holds moniker now, but like she really is fucking good. Like, she's a really good wrestler. I'm a fan of my technicians, and yeah, I'm surprised I didn't pick up on her.
To get that nod from Malenko himself, because he sort of bequeathed her that moniker, if you will. Mm-hmm. That says 1,001 things in itself, doesn't
it? But yeah, I thought as well Rio was fantastic as well. I think they had great chemistry, and that was part of the building blocks of why it was such a good match. And obviously for it to be on the buy-in, that must have got anyone who saw it interested in watching the whole show. So it was a great way to kick off. The next highlight I had.
Can I just say?
No.
I always, and this is WWE's fault, and I don't want to be this guy comparing the two. I never think much of a buy-in or a pre-show. I always think this is where you're going to put your weakest thing on, let's get the show started kind of thing. This is exactly what it should be, because this, like you say, this helped get you hyped and build you for what is going to be a really good pay-per-view. And I
This
think
is more
I
like
almost overlooked this because I'm like, well, it's not going to be anything major, is it?
this is more like MMA, like stuff for me, where they always put like a really good match on like the free kind of
Yeah, to
pre-show
build you.
basically.
Yeah, just makes
Yeah,
sense, doesn't it?
the prelim card is what is the word I'm looking for. So yeah, more like that as opposed to WWE as well. We'll just stick something shit on to tie people over as we put a countdown show on the network.
We'll just put people in the ring, they'll watch it.
Yeah. So that was great. Next, the Casino Battle Royal. I'm a big fan of Battle Royals. I believe you are too. And look,
We love a good Rumble, and this is basically their Rumble, isn't it?
well,
Let's
that's
be
it.
honest.
And it's not as good as the Rumble, but it's
No.
slightly different. I like the whole thing they have with the different suits, and therefore whoever draws the spades all come in, and
What I
so on and
do
so
like
forth.
is the fact that they're not doing this whole 5 people at a time thing in terms of coming out. I think everyone gets their own sort of respect now, which is good.
Yeah.
I think that was a nice little tweak.
Yeah, and I think it allowed them to do some interesting stuff as well, where someone would come out, but then the next person who came out would, attack them or be attacked and stuff like that. So it was different than them all just coming out together.
Made more of that, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I get why they initially we didn't really know anyone, so I get why they did 5 at a time. I do kind of understand that, but I think we're past that now, and I'm glad they've kind of acknowledged that.
Yeah. Now, me personally, I thought Christian Cage was going to be the winner. So when I saw the final 2 in the ring as being Jungle Boy and Christian Cage, I was like, oh, okay, here we go. And I was surprised to see that it was actually Jungle Boy.
I wasn't particularly invested in Jungle Boy, if I'm honest, but I was elated to find out that it wasn't Christian Cage, because I've been very skeptical of their use of legends, as it were, and I'm so glad that this to me just says we're still trying to build new talent, and I'm really quite elated with the decision here.
Yeah. I'm a massive fan of Jungle Boy. I think I've gone on record of saying I think I can see him as a future world champion. I don't think I see it anytime soon though. I don't think he's ready yet.
No,
which is why I was surprised, because if he's going to get a title opportunity against Kenny Omega, I think it's like not this week's Dynamite, but the one after. So it's pretty soon. Like there's no way he's winning it, so it does feel like a bit of a letdown. It'd be nice if they built it up a bit better, but who knows? It remains to be seen. Yeah. But I just can't. I think it's too soon for him, unfortunately. But happy to see that he gets the win. Obviously, he'll go down in the record books, and it builds him up as more of a homegrown talent again, which is what you want. So
the only thing I will say about the Casino Battle Royals, is like, help me out here with previous winners, but wasn't one of the previous winners Scorpio Sky?
Yeah,
and didn't really do a lot for him.
No.
And the year before, unfortunately, I can't remember the winner, but I feel like it might have been Hangman Page, and again, he did not win the title. So at the minute, your chances of winning the actual title match that you're in seems quite slim.
So it's less like the Royal Rumble, more like the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at this point, where you win it, and it's like
it doesn't do much for you.
And it doesn't really. But yeah, remains to be seen. I do think Jungle Boy is going to have a great career. I just don't think he's going to win the belt anytime soon. So while it's nice, I would have been more intrigued by Christian Cage, because at least then I could be like, okay, I could see Christian Cage as a world champion against Kenny Omega, whereas I don't see Jungle Boy there yet.
I agree with that, yeah.
So next, fucking hell, phenomenal. Hikaru Shida, Britt Baker, Women's Championship. Wow. So happy for Britt as well. I think she's
this was
just
the right result for starters.
Yeah, and
right
that's no slight on Shida either. Like, she's been a phenomenal champion. Even Britt came out last week and said in the COVID era, like, for her to have carried that belt, throughout all that is for a full year is just amazing.
To be fair, like, this is just storytelling, isn't it? Like, it's the right result because this is the way the story's been building. Like, you'd have felt almost annoyed if Shida won. It's not any disrespect to Shida at all. It's that this has been building to Britt having her moment. And I think it was executed perfectly. And sadly, like you say, it's no disrespect to Shida, but Shida had to lose for that result,
Yeah, I think it's no surprise, Anthony. We called her as the breakout star in the A2theK
We did indeed.
In December. And we were right, and she's only continued to break out even more to the point where she's the women's champion. I can't think of anybody who has gone on quite the character transformation that she has gone on. If you think of one of the first times we saw her as a babyface and was just kind of very to now as being one of the best heels, one of the most over on the mic, it is night and day. She's been so fucking good.
I love it, and you've inspired me. While Tony Khan's in the mood for buying licensed music for people's themes, "Breakout" by the Foo Fighters, I think, would be a good shout for Britt Baker now.
Yeah, okay, I like that.
Yeah, let's do it.
So yeah, that was phenomenal. The next one, I don't know how you feel about this because you never wanted to see the guy in a ring again,
I'm
but
going to surprise you here.
okay.
I'll let you
So
say your piece.
for me, I was just shocked because the guy can still go. He didn't pull any punches. He wasn't, gingerly kind of working his way through. He was Sting. He was like diving off shit. He was splashing everywhere. He was throwing himself over ropes and off things, and it was just mad to see a guy 60 odd years old just absolutely killing it, like to the point where he didn't like he missed a beat. You know what I mean? So for that reason alone, even though the match itself was pretty average, there's nothing but props for the Stinger.
I hate to do this, I really do, and that's because I've been sorely against veterans back in the ring like this, especially a man who's 62 at this point. He tweaked my nostalgia. He did everything right, even down to his attire. He did everything fucking right. I started with WCW, Carl, as you well know.
Yeah.
So to see him come back and he was almost echoing his original attire, and like you say, he wasn't just like some old guy in the ring they were having to carry. He was hitting Stinger splashes and everything. It was fucking brilliant, and he got me. He got me, and I can't deny that. Like that tweaked by nostalgia, and I was enthralled and made up with this match. As much as I don't, all due respect to him, I don't want to see him regularly in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
This one time out, fucking brilliant. And like you say, it felt like he hadn't missed a beat. And you got to give him props for his age alone. Like we haven't seen like look at DDP at his age getting back in the ring, and you're like, fuck, that was impressive. And like, how good is DDP yoga? Like, and it was similar to that where you're like, fuck's sake, like this wasn't just like let's take a bump. This was like actively in the ring, and yeah, he did so well. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, as much as I've probably made some, I don't want to call them unfair because I still think that we shouldn't rely too much on the veterans. They're there, but I think they're like in the way he was sort of mentoring and managing Darby Allin was the right way to do it. This one time out was fantastic. I just don't want them to push it too much. Is all.
No, I'll agree with that. Like, I don't want to see him wrestle every fucking month or every pay-per-view even. I do think, for me, the logical progression for this is for him to fully put Darby over and cement Darby. So,
Yeah.
for me, I'd like to see him one more time and it'd be that match. In 6 months to a year, however long it's going to take for that to happen. Hopefully more like 6 months because I don't want to see just, Daddy Sting and Darby for much longer. But yeah, I was
What did
shocked.
you make of Darby's face paints?
Yeah, it's cool.
Okay, didn't he echoed Sting? Didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, that was the idea.
They kind of both did like complemented each other because Sting had his Scorpion stuff on, but he had like the skull kind of stuff that Darby normally has as well. That's kind of towards the back. So yeah, it was very much.
Darby had his skull, but he had the lines. Yeah.
Yeah, so they were kind of emulating each other, but yeah, I thought it was good, and yeah, I was massively surprised by Sting, so absolutely a highlight. The AEW title match, my God, so good. It's mad really to think, you look at it on paper and you're like Omega, Pac, Orange Cassidy. For anyone who's looking at this kind of not invested in the product would be like, that's their main title scene. It was so fucking good. I really enjoyed the match.
I've always really I've give so much credit to, funnily enough, to Orange Cassidy after the first time he had a match with Pac, and it was so much better than it deserved to be.
Yeah,
I think it's very easy to sleep on Cassidy's character because he's there to be that sort of lazy sloth type character, but all the three of them are so fucking good in the ring that there was no way this couldn't be awesome, and they complemented each other so well. Adding Kenny Omega to the mix, it just made for even more fun. Like it was just such a really good match between the three of them, and it further cements the fact that Orange Cassidy's so fucking good. Like whether you like his gimmick or not, he knows what he's doing. He is really, really effective.
Yeah, fully agreed. But no, it was mad because I knew Kenny Omega was going to win. Like surprisingly, when we did our prediction series, a lot of people had Pac, and I was like, oh wow, okay. But you know, for me, there was no one winning this match other than Kenny Omega. Like, there was not a doubt in my mind. But
Yeah, I
watching
didn't
this
think they were
match,
ready to do anything other than that, to be honest.
watching this match, the amount of times I was like, oh shit, they're not going to, are they? And, you know, what more can you want from a wrestling match than to be like on the edge of your seat going, oh fuck,
I think that's
are they going to
when they
get this
can
pin?
do that to you in the match. Because let's face it, I think a lot of people, as much as like you say, the predictions were calling for like Pac and that, I reckon there must have been a fair few people who were expecting the Kenny stuff to carry on, and like you say, AEW have to do something then to put the fear in you that might not be the case, and yeah, it's impressive that they did that in the match. You think, shit, that was close, and it actually gets you believing it. That's it's good story. It's good in ring storytelling, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, it definitely was, and it's not even just about like spamming finishes and near falls. Like there was elements of that, but like from a psychology standpoint, they told a lot of good stories in there. Even to the point of the finish, it made sense. It was a really strong match, I thought, from all three of them. So
Yeah,
it warranted
totally.
that being the main event title scene. But the main event of the actual show was the Stadium Stampede, and it's still a highlight for me. I'm not sure personally it was as good as the first one, but I still think it was a really fun match, and there was loads of stuff happening, a load of kind of callbacks to some of the things that we'd seen previously as well, which I thought was nice. But for me, I don't know what your thoughts are. This one felt a little bit more kind of Money in the Banky to me. If you think when they had the Money in the Bank at the head office, like WWE headquarters, and they were doing a lot of stuff walking around in the background and interacting with various people. I got massive vibes like that from this with Jericho and MJF, like with
Yeah,
him and the Jags coaches and stuff like that, and
yeah.
you know answering the,
No,
the
I get
phone and
that.
things.
I do. And this is me filling in blanks in my own head, so I could be totally wrong on this, but I wonder whether because there was a lot of criticism of the Stadium Stampede stuff that like, well, this is your first big pay per view back in front of a full crowd, and you're doing a cinematic that was of the COVID era, and part of me wonders whether that was deliberate and to go, well, we won't do too much because obviously the live crowd stuff then isn't overdone like in the sense of like I don't know. Is there any concerns COVID wise that they don't want to put too long a show on like physically in front of people? I don't know, but like for the cinematic, it kind of made sense to me, and for the place it was on the card because I'll talk about the elephant in the room in that sense. A lot of people are like this was the main event. Why didn't you have the main title as the main event? But even that made a bit of sense to me. That like again you got that really high energy match that is in front of a crowd, and this almost give people time to enjoy something but come down a bit as well.
Mm.
It did feel a bit Money in the Bank, like in that sense, where it's like, well, what's in this room? But yeah, I in terms of your comments on that,
Yeah,
and it did what it needed to do, I suppose. But yeah, it probably wasn't as good as the first one. Probably not as creative in all,
yeah.
but it was okay. Highlight, but
Well, that's
yeah,
it. It was still entertaining. There was still a lot of stuff that happened. It was still, had comedy elements. We got to see Sammy Guevara driving the fucking golf cart this time instead of being the one hit by it. Obviously, Sean Spears gets hit by it. The throwback to the drink scene. Only Conan's the DJ and stuff this time. Like there was loads of cool elements and stuff that happened in there. But yeah, I don't know. I also think, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but it just fucking ended so abruptly. It was just like they're all fighting. We're getting little segments of all of them. We have Wardlow, Hager. We have the tag guys. We have Jericho and MJF. We have a little bit of Sammy and Sean Spears. And the next minute they rock up on the way back to the ring, and then it's like fucking 960 splash or whatever the fuck it is, and then pin, and they won. And it
yeah.
was just like, what the fuck? Like that was just out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but again, this is where it probably got a little weird because obviously a lot of it was pre-filmed, and then they did this bit that was live, that was kind of abrupt, and it's like almost like they didn't marry them very well together, but they were very separate things because I believe they filmed this potentially the night before. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I do agree with you that didn't necessarily gel well together. But I think again, I don't know what the intent was, but I think it was with the intent of like keeping the live crowd stuff to a minimum. Maybe I don't know, but
Right.
it did
Okay.
feel kind of abrupt.
Yeah, because like it would have made sense if more of them had made their way back to ringside and then it was all finished there. But it was just like Sammy and Spears got there first, and then Sammy had won, and then everyone else had to kind of come out and, find their way back to the ring to celebrate. And it was just like, strange, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to be trying to fill in gaps with them. Like, obviously, if there's weak points, we'll acknowledge them, and I think you're fair to do so. But I know part of me just wonders whether it was like that was what essentially, if you look at what was actually in the arena at the time, in front of the live audience, we went from that big main event to this relatively short thing. If you take the cinematic element out of it, so I don't know, almost like a quick closer in a way, but didn't really tie in very well, like you say. It did and it didn't.
No. But yeah, it was still all right. But yeah, you've got to call him like we see him. So it could have been better, like the first one was, and it was a little bit abrupt, if you will. On to the O'Shites, Cody and a Go-Go. I'm not sure why Cody would book himself to go over a Go-Go. It didn't make an ounce of sense to me.
I'm fucking livid with this. I'm so fucking livid with this because I was utterly convinced. He's coming out with these tone-deaf promos where he talks about how great America is and how great he is and how wonderful he is for having a mixed-race child or whatever the fuck he was going on about. It was very confusing, very weird, but just Cody just bigging himself up. And you're like, this has got to be pushing to some sort of Cody's almost an accidental heel being so arrogant that we want a Go-Go to win. And that's what's going to happen. Cody wants some time off with the baby, so it just makes sense. Mm-hmm. And then we get this as a result. What the fuck were they thinking?
Well, that's it. What like it made such perfect sense. Like, for that would have really cemented a Go-Go. It would have made sense that Cody was put on the shelf. If you think of Austin Gunn, he's apparently on the shelf for like 9 to 12 weeks because of a Go-Go. So this could have been another one where Cody gets a shitload of time, parental leave for his, future daughter who's on the way imminently. But yeah, no, he puts himself over, and now we've got to what happens? Does he just disappear? Then what happens to a Go-Go? I don't know. Sometimes you need to just take the loss.
Here's another one, and I won't take credit for this, and I'd love to give credit, but apologies because I can't remember who put it on. But somebody on social media pointed out that Cody come out dressed like Homelander from The Boys, which is like this all-American Superman type hero. But obviously, if you watch The Boys, you find out that he's what's the word? He's a play on that, and he's actually like a really horrible fucker. Do you know what I mean? Right. So it's like, why are you dressing like a really bad villain from a show? And then putting yourself over, like even that didn't make sense in terms of his attire. Now that's something admittedly I didn't notice. That's something I've read since, but I'm like, yeah, everything echoed like it was going to go in a Go-Go's favor, and it was going to give him the push and give him the rub, and it just doesn't make sense.
It just didn't a Go-Go his way, unfortunately.
Did not.
But yeah, I don't know. I think as soon as we found out he was going to be calling himself the American Dream, we probably should have gone, fuck, he's winning this, and he did. So yeah, terrible call in my opinion. Made no sense.
Like, now I'm left wondering: are they thinking they can keep this going a bit longer, or does Cody think he's over? Because
I mean,
you surely can't
to be fair,
the cues that much to know that.
If you listen to the fans, Cody is over. Like, he's still got one of the loudest pops. So I don't get it, to be fair. I don't know whether it's just the smarks in us and the casuals love him or what. I honestly don't know, but it felt wrong on so many levels. Maybe
this is a question you need to put to Instagram. Cody, good or bad?
Yeah, get a poll up.
I feel like this is such a tone-deaf character that he thinks he's something. He thinks he's like epitomizes what a true American is, and really he's missing the mark. That's what I thought he was going for as a character. I thought that was deliberate. And now I'm wondering, is it not deliberate? Or is it something I'm seeing that's not even there? I don't even know.
Yeah. Weird one. Weird decision. The next O'Shite. And this isn't the match because I actually enjoyed the match, but I want to just call out Miro and Archer. So the reason it makes the O'Shites is a lot of it just felt a bit bland. It started off really well. Two big Hoss characters beating the shit out of each other, putting each other through tables and shit. Awesome. And then it just kind of felt a bit flat. And you've got this kind of strange dynamic with the two of them of Lance Archer is this generation's Big Show. Every time we fucking see him, he turns. He's either, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? I have no idea what he is.
I'm sorry, I haven't been keeping track. Is he a good guy in this pay-per-view or a bad guy?
Well, no one fucking knows, right? And to a degree, same with Miro, because he comes out, all the fans love him because he's Miro, but he's kind of doing heelish stuff, but baby...
Like throwing a snake.
Yeah, so exactly, right? So he fucking launches a snake halfway through this match, and then the fans boo him for that. And then it's like, oh, okay, so now now they've made Archer the face, but then Miro wins, and it was just, I don't know, it just, yeah, I don't know. Like, it did what it needed to do. Miro got a win over a big, you know, tough, challenging opponent in a very dominant way in the fact that he effectively choked him out with whatever he calls the accolade now. I don't remember what it's called in AEW, but yeah. So he got the win. It did what it needed to, but I have no idea still who he is as a character. Is he a heel now? Should we boo him? Is he still a good guy? Because last week he was, or a couple of weeks ago he did fucking Kip Sabian in, so he was like, brilliant, legend. I hate Kip. And then now he's like throwing a snake and beating up Jake the Snake as well, and it's kind of like, right, okay, I don't really know anymore. And Lance Archer just comes out like a psychopath, and it's like, well, surely he's not a good guy, right? But then they do stuff that makes you want to cheer him as well, so I don't really know. Yeah. But yeah, match itself was alright, but questions.
Hopefully it has a bit more direction going forward.
Well, yeah, remains to be seen. And the final shite for me is just the underwhelming surprises. So AEW don't have to do surprises and spring them out every fucking pay-per-view, every show. Definitely not. But Tony Khan likes to talk, and he likes to go on these little shows and mention about how he's going to add to the roster, and there's some big names.
Tony,
still.
we're a little show.
Yeah, come on the show, Tony. But obviously, you'd think he would have learnt his lesson from the Christian Cage debacle, because that could have been quite cool if it wasn't so hyped up. But he goes on these shows and goes, oh, well, obviously there's going to be a couple of surprises coming up soon, and people once again are like, oh, who's that? And they start to speculate. And then the Joker we get in the Battle Royal is Leo Rush. Okay.
I couldn't have been, and this is, I don't want to say this is no disrespect to Leo Rush, because it kind of is, but I couldn't have been more disappointed.
Yeah, it was just like, if you think about it, and it made our botch of the year, didn't it, in December? But the previous edition of Double or Nothing, this Battle Royal, we got to see Matt Sydal, and I was like, oh shit, that's Matt Sydal, that's cool.
Yeah,
and obviously he fucked up straight away, and I was like,
we hadn't seen him in a time.
Yeah,
so it was kind of like, yeah, that's awesome.
They bring in Leo Rush, and it's like, all right, okay, he's not going to do anything here. So,
well, I was like straight away, I'm like, isn't he the guy who threw a strop at Mark Henry?
Yeah,
what a weird time to have him turn up.
I'm so happy you made that connection, because that was going to be where I was going to go with this. But yeah, the other signing or reveal they did was they've signed Mark Henry, not to be an in-ring performer, but to be a coach and also to be a commentator on the new show that they're doing, Rampage or whatever it's called. So, okay, is Mark Henry a good commentator? Like, I think he's got a podcast, cool, but I don't remember him doing anything of any kind of...
I don't think he's much of a talker, so that's a bit weird, to be honest. Not from what I've known of him in WWE, anyway.
Yeah, by all accounts, he is a really good judge of talent and stuff like that.
That being said, sorry, I don't mean to... I've been drinking, so I interrupted a lot. Apologies.
Whether you drink or not,
do that Busted Open Radio stuff quite a lot, so he does talk, but just not something we've seen on WWE, so he might be better than we think.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. So I know he's got his own show and stuff as well, or he does, a lot of commentary type stuff for podcasts and things. But
he may have mentioned Leo Rush on one of them.
I think he might have done, yeah. Yeah, weird timeline. But yeah, I don't know. I just think, by all accounts, he's a fantastic judge of talent. He was responsible for getting Bianca Belair in WWE, for example. So he can be beneficial to them from both the talent scout aspect and also from a coach.
Why are they all women, Mark?
Yeah, I got to type. But yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one, I would say. And yeah, to bring him out and be like, oh, we've got the world's strongest man, Mark Henry. You're not really going to see him much. And when you do, it's going to be on commentary in a show for a few months' time. I was like, all right.
I know. I do find the announcements weird when it's stuff like that. It's like, we've got the world's strongest man, Mark Henry, backstage regularly.
Yeah, you may see him every now and again.
Okay.
Wow.
Thanks.
Okay. So
that's like knowing Shane Helms was working backstage in WWE. It's like, well, that's cool and all, but do we need it announcing?
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Underwhelming, I think, in terms of who the Joker was, because you've got people going, oh, it's going to be Daniel Bryan. Obviously, it's like, for fuck's sake. Then you've got obviously people who are a lot more realistic, but still coming up with some decent names out there. And again, no offense to Leo Rush, but I didn't care, unfortunately. So
Well, to be honest, and I'm not saying like, oh, Leo Rush shouldn't be in the business because of this, but like he he's a surprise signing for me because he left WWE and then bitched about WWE.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you wouldn't think that's the type of person who they'd want to sign because it's like, I'm not saying that he didn't have things to bitch about with WWE, but it's like his reaction to being released was that, and it's like, well,
Yeah.
he didn't seem to, especially the way some of the comments Mark Henry made, you're like, well, didn't seem to have that mentality that they'd want. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, it might be polarizing. I mean, the Leo Rush stuff I've said might be polarizing, but it'd be kind of like signing Ryback.
Mm.
And you go, well, yeah, no, we signed him, but he's going to be totally cool this time. He's definitely not going to moan about money. Like,
Yeah.
no, he probably is. So yeah, I was a bit surprised, and also it's like, well, was he that big a name that he's like your surprise Joker? Like, really?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think we've seen.
Also, wasn't he
I
having a
could be
successful
wrong.
music career or something?
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't think we've seen a Leo Rush's All Elite post yet, which I think we did see that with Matt Sydal like a day or two later. So
Yeah,
maybe it
and
was
we've
just a
already had
one-off
one with
thing.
Mark Henry.
Well, yeah. So who knows? But yeah, slightly underwhelming. But that was it. That was my O'Shites. I don't know whether I've missed anything from any of the highlights or O'Shites that you wanted to call out,
No,
Anthony.
no, no. No, I agree with those. I don't think there's any other particular O'Shites. But all in all, I think as a pay per view in front of the essentially the first big pay per view back in front of a crowd
Mm-hmm.
on any wrestling show. Apologies if there's an indie one that I didn't know about. Um, Totally hit the mark. I think it was a fantastic show. I
Couldn't agree
um
more.
I, I,
Couldn't
I
agree
couldn't
more.
have been happier with it, to be honest with you. I know some people were a bit questionable about the positioning of the Stadium Stampede, but I don't know. I think that worked well. Let us come down a little bit as well.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think for me, the card ahead of this, looking at it, I was really excited. On paper, it was really, fantastically put together, had a bit of everything. And I think it delivered on the most part for that as well. One or two of the matches weren't necessarily as, you know, executed as well as I would have liked. But all in all, I can't argue that it was a really, really good show. And I think definitely the best thing that happened in the wrestling world in the last week. So for me, it's getting a 4 out
Yeah.
of 5. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And all in all, yeah, I was impressed. Thought it was good.
Well, you know me, Carl. I very rarely, or potentially never, do this. I can't remember my ratings anymore. But I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to give it a 4. And I think this might be the first 4 I've ever given. I
Wow,
could be wrong, but I think this might be the first time I've gone to a 4.
wowzers!
And that is because, and this might be some of the hype of like, wow, it's back in front of crowds, and you do get to soak in that atmosphere and get more hyped over it. But it was just a really solid pay per view. Every match counted. Like some of them may not have performed exactly how you wanted, but every match counted, and they were all important enough. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the whole thing.
Yeah, and I think we probably didn't speak about it as much, but you look at the homegrown talent who shone in this pay per view. It's just immense. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It honestly is crazy. You had
and
Britt
that's where it
Baker
gives me
winning the belt.
hope to doing things right in that sense.
Yeah, well, that's it. Britt Baker, she won the women's title. You had Jungle Boy winning the Battle Royal. You had Darby putting on a really good showing with Sting. You had Sammy Guevara being the one to win the Stadium Stampede. Straight away 4 pretty much homegrown talent there
Yeah,
that
and it's the
shone
thing.
that night.
And this is where you could, like, let's be honest, they could have been tone deaf enough to have, yeah, the match with Sting had Sting being the one who's like focused on, and then the Stadium Stampede having Jericho being the one who's focused on, and let's put way too much time on Mark Henry and stuff like that. Like, let's concentrate on all these guys who we already know, just because their names we already know. They were definitely not scared of pushing the
No.
like. Yeah, you've got to appreciate that.
Yeah, 100%. And that was it. That was our final segment. That was the
Nice.
last thing we're going to talk about this week, even though, we'll probably be like a few days before we're back again because we're so fucking late. But yeah, we hope you enjoyed the show. We ran through some breaking news, obviously, with the latest round of WWE releases. We spoke about the previous week's shows in This Week in Wrestling, and we've topped it all off with the results of AEW's Double or Nothing. And we are going to be back Hopefully not this time next week. Maybe on the Monday, like we're meant to be.
Unfortunately, due to we be getting moved to their sister company Spot and moved to a Friday night.
Yeah, but obviously the anchor title will still retain its name. But yeah, so until next week, thank you for being here with us. Follow us on the socials. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll be back in a few days' time.
See you all soon.
You're watching or listening
to A to the K.
The A to the K.
A2theK.
A to the K.
A to the K.
A to the K.
These guys are awesome. Check it out.
Check it out. Change your life. You'll be thanking me later.